I'm Jamie Seeker, and this is What It Takes. Each episode, I sit down with real business owners to talk about their journey, the wins, the challenges, and everything in between. Let's dive in. Welcome to What It Takes, the podcast where we dive deep into the journeys of inspiring business owners. Today, we're thrilled to have Robyn Chu, a dedicated occupational therapist and founder of Growing Healthy Seasons. With over 16 years of experience, Robyn has built a thriving company of 75 therapists specializing in sensory processing disorder, or SPD, and sensory regulation, which I am very familiar with. Her expertise in developing innovative programs such as the Regulation Foundation program, which I highly recommend, has not only transformed the lives of families and children, but also empowered businesses such as Seeker Solution to operate more inclusively. Robyn's real life experiences, coupled with her research at UCLA and UCSF, make her a true leader in the field of sensory development. So today we'll share her entrepreneurial journey and the lessons that she's learned along the way. And I think we're going to kind of focus on scaling for impact. So talking about, your growth and all that kind of stuff. So welcome, Robyn.
Thank you so much. It's so fun to do this with you and to be here.
Yes, thank you. So let's get into it. What inspired you to start Growing Healthy Seasons 16 years ago? And what was your initial vision for the company?
Okay, well, we should just dive right into a story because it didn't start 16 years ago. I was actually 16 years old, which was a while before that. And I had this deep passion for helping kids and families. And I was, doing the typical high school thing, like babysitting. And then I started lifeguarding. And they had this special thing called the special needs swim at the time. And there was this one boy that literally inspired and started the vision of Growing Healthy Seasons. He was autistic, which I didn't know at the time. I didn't know that term. I didn't know any of that yet. But I found that when he went down the slide over and over again, all of a sudden he could communicate and he could connect. Growing Healthy Seasons was just inspired by this vision of what if more people with different abilities, different strengths and weaknesses and challenges and all of that could have the opportunity to thrive and connect, like this little boy going down the slide. So it sounds cheesy, but literally it was inspired out of this interaction that I had with this boy who was all of a sudden able to smile and connect and thrive.
That is not cheesy at all. So what got you from vision and inception to actually starting?
Well, yeah. So there, it was a journey of discernment, right? It was, well, how can I help kids with special needs and their families? Am I going to be a doctor? Am I going to be a therapist? Am I going to be a teacher? Interviewing all of that. And along the way, realizing that occupational therapy and what it really took would be starting my own practice, because I started seeing the difference I could make by working for other people in different organizations, but started seeing a gap where, yes, families are being helped at hospitals. Absolutely. Families are being helped in the schools 120%, and they still need more help, right? There's this gap. And so out of that gap, I thought, I can do this. Let's do it. Let's help in a different way that's not available right now.
And do it you shall, because now fast forward to today and you are thriving and growing. And we know, we're able to work together and see kind of that inner behind the scenes, curtain. But at what point did you realize your company needed to scale? And what were some of the first steps that you took to kind of manage that growth as it was coming along?
Yeah. Okay. So scaling for me was, oh my goodness, I'm pregnant again and I want to have a maternity leave. How do people who own a company take a maternity leave, right? Because you're technically allowed to, but as a small business owner, if I didn't work, there was no money coming in. So what do I do? And beautifully, that was connected with a therapist that I used to work with, reaching out and saying, hey, if you have any part-time work, if you know of anything, I'd love to help. And I literally called her back, like crying, right? Because I'm pregnant. And I'm like, actually, I do need help and I just really want to take a maternity leave. So she came on board, and that was the first step towards scaling. From there, it was, I think, what most people experience, right? Families are calling, asking for help. Schools are requesting bigger contracts, more work, and therapist friends and colleagues were calling and saying, hey, what do you think about working together? Can I join the team? So it was pretty organic in nature. And what I love is that our scaling was rooted in the cause, right? It was rooted in the fact that we wanted to help more people.
That's awesome. And I think that's a really good point right there that you made about having your natural going about your daily life, and whether it's your work journey or your personal journey, there is something,
Right.
there usually is that moment where you realize, okay, I can no longer keep going down this road, right? And
Mhm.
so for you, it was maternity leave. For others, I hear a lot of these similar stories is that they're faced with something very, I have to make this decision now. And sometimes we wait until those things happen,
Yes.
but you did it. I mean, growing a team of 75 therapists is no small feat. So sometimes it takes a little bit of pushing to kind of get there. So how did you
Yeah.
ensure that your quality of care remained consistent as you expanded? I know that you
Mm.
talked about you had some colleagues and other people reaching out, so there was some
Yeah.
familiarity there. You already kind of knew where they stood on their values, and they probably knew you. So you kind of started
From
on
the
that, but
beginning.
right, but going from that initial, okay, we're going to do this, to now here you are today, that's a really
Yeah.
big step. That's not just one that you take, up. That's not
Mhm.
one step that you take. There are multiple iterations of things that you probably had to figure out. So talk to me a little bit about that and
Yeah.
how you maintained your
Mm.
your vision.
Yeah, the vision was rooted in that quality of care. You're right. So for me, it wasn't an either or. It was, we're only scaling if we can maintain good quality services. Like, if that gold standard is going to be compromised, not in. So that was super clear to me. I think the thing that was amazing is that, as passionate as I am about helping families, I'm equally as passionate about helping therapists to grow people, like grow the therapist to be able to mentor others, right? That almost like a leadership development track. So at the same time as I was scaling my practice, I was teaching for the Star Foundation in Colorado. And I was doing this like faculty role of training people who were going to go teach others, mentor others in the industry. And what I realized is, wait a second, if we create some kind of a tier leadership structure, we can maintain that quality of care. We can keep that gold standard. And it's almost a win-win. So this was like the mastermind of my clinical director, Christy, and I. We were thinking, wow, our therapists want a leadership development track. They want to be able to grow, right? They want to move up in the company. And we need to maintain that quality. So this tier leadership structure, we call it now clinical excellence teams, it's become a true win-win.
That's
So yeah.
amazing. And it sounds like even if it was ingrained in their growth track, or, something that you just happened to be doing, it was going to be something that took a high priority for you. And just knowing you, it is pretty
Yeah.
much in all of your processes, all of everything that they do. So that is something that I think is very important as people are learning and listening, and they're at that point where they have to
Yeah.
scale, is being unwavering about your very specific vision, and keeping that. So for you, it was quality of care. For somebody else, it
Mm-hmm.
might be something else. But
Right.
whatever that is just having that unwavering, uncompromising vision that we're going to stay this way, and
Mm-hmm.
knowing what the non-negotiables are. You hear us
Yeah.
say that a lot. And knowing what you can change and what you can grow and or evolve to be. And that is something that you have to really set in the beginning as
Mm-hmm.
you're starting on this journey. Would you say that?
Yeah. Totally, because it comes at a cost, right? Like, this is not cheap, because that individualized mentoring, it's every single person. So I'm becoming a better leader by individualized mentoring. which costs money and time. And then the mentoring that happens all along. And no matter what that thing is, like you said, right? It doesn't have to be the gold standard of therapy. It's something else in a different industry. But whatever that thing is that you're unwavering about is going to cost money, and there will be trials that it just makes a little bit of a wrestling inside of you. But when you already know that from the beginning, this is what's most important, the cost is worth it. And it's easier to make the decision to keep moving in that direction.
That's a really good point. And I think that we're willing to pay for services or certain things, and even whether it's in our budget or it's, absorbing other internal costs, things like that. But that's a really good point that you make. So can you share some of the biggest challenges? Maybe it's costing something or not, but there are some challenges that you face when you scale. And what were yours specifically? Do you have a story, or how I want to hear how you overcame them, because I know where you are today. So that didn't come just snapping your finger. There were things that you guys had to endure. And what did that look like?
Okay, well, generally speaking, the hardest part for me was things not being done how I would do them.
I don't think you're the only one. I think any business owner listening to that is going to say, yeah, fair enough. That's the hardest part.
So the way that I overcame that, though, was I just dove deep into my core values. Like, this was a big clarifying thing for me. So once I figured out what the why was under the what, then is it how I would do it, became less painful. I also saw it as a unique growing opportunity, because what this unearthed for me was a bit of a perfectionist streak, challenge, you might say, right? Where when we started scaling, I realized I have to face this head on, because it isn't about perfectionism. And in fact, that's not healthy for me as a leader. So our whole organization, we have a theme every year. And one year, the whole theme was excellence, not perfection. And we just dove into that as a whole group. And what I found is it left enough room for everyone's strengths. It helped them to define how they were going to do the tasks. It helped us to stay consistent with our core values, right? So it became beautiful, but it was like, oh, I wouldn't have worded that email that way. I wouldn't have, right? You can't micromanage as you're scaling. It's just not possible. And I'm bringing my shoulders up, because I would get this tension in my neck and then be like, no, look at that person blossoming as the person they are, in line with the core values of the company. So, okay, in general, that's what it was. But specifically, biggest challenge, I can tell you, like, without a doubt, without a hesitation, we purchased a plot of land, commercial plot of land, about maybe 7-ish years into the company, right? This was a big jump for us. And I ran the numbers 5 million times forward and backwards. I got advice from other people, right? Checked in with the whole team. We were all on board. We did our due diligence on this for sure. And then, everyone can guess. Construction, it takes twice as long. It costs double as much. They told me that at the beginning. I didn't believe them, but it did. So we're under this financial strain of scaling in a very particular way. And we opened the building, and a couple months later, we ended up choosing to walk away from our biggest contract because of some unethical practices that we saw.
Of course.
It was 70% of our money coming in.
Wow.
And that obstacle, it took me to my limits. It helped me to face, what am I going to do when things get hard? And it all worked out. Like, my faith grew because I watched it all work out. And we ended up recording a children's album for a grant through the library system. And that covered the bills. What? And it's free for everyone. I know. How cool is that? That something like, we needed money to pay the bills on a whole new operating expenses level. And we ended up getting it was one of my dreams come true. And families still, like, they go to the story time at the libraries in Northern California, and they listen to us singing these cute little songs. So it worked out, but man, that was scary.
Wow. Well, two big things stood out to me. Really good nuggets that I just have to repeat because it's so good. Leave room for others' strengths. That was huge. You were able to
Yeah.
find that you kind of getting out of the way left room for others to kind of step in and figure out what that looks like. And then number two, the thing that kind of went into my mind as you were explaining, okay, this was 70% of our business. What did that clear the way for though?
Yes.
How did,
Yeah,
because you never
totally.
would have done XYZ, fill it, your
Right.
blank was this grant, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But you probably never would have done that as a business owner had that not come about. And I've
Right.
personally experienced that in our journey as a company, you talking about it. And what I found is absolutely very, very difficult when you're going through it and it does test you. And
Mhm.
what's cool is if you do stick with it, you are and you do become the person that you always thought you would be in adversity.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I love that you're just like, oh yeah, and now this and that, we get to look back and see this. And I love that. Those were two things that stood out to me in that. And
Mm,
I kind of want to shift gears. Not really, it's still in regards
yeah.
to
Yeah.
everything that we're talking about, but because I'm so familiar with this program, our team is going through this program, the Regulation Foundation.
I know.
It's so transformative. And, you were talking about, oh, I'm shrugging my shoulders. I know exactly why you're so aware of
Mhm.
that and the things that go on in your body when you're feeling what you're feeling and the cues that you have. And as a business owner, for me, it's been invaluable just because I was already sort of a self-aware person and I picked up on a
Yeah,
lot of
you are.
things and others. I just didn't have any science behind it. I didn't understand why. I didn't know what to do with it. I wasn't educated about what does this mean? How do I work through this? I just knew that I could see things, whether it was in myself or watching someone else go through it. And I think we as consultants can see, we have a
Totally.
different vision of what you go through as a business owner, but I experience as a business owner as well. So,
Mm.
talk to me about that transformative program. How
So
did this
exciting.
play a role in every part of it? I mean, you can take that
Yeah.
kind of whatever direction you want to take it in. I want to
Oh
make
my
sure that we
gosh.
touch on it because it's been such a wonderful thing.
Okay, so Regulation Foundation program, it's our newest baby. It comes right on the heels of a continuing education course that we wrote called Interoception and Introspection. And from there, we got to create this program that actually it was created out of wanting to help mental health professionals, leaders within our own organization, but also outside of our organization. So basically, long story short, I was getting phone calls from practice owners, right? Therapy practice owners saying, could you mentor me? Because this is hard. Like, I went to school to become a therapist, and now I'm a business owner and a therapist. How do I navigate this? So we started pulling together these different activities, these different components of what became the Regulation Foundation program. And then we started getting requests from people outside of the therapy world, outside of the helping professionals saying, hey, me too, right? Like, I need help to stay in the game and be my best self as and fill in the blank, construction worker, fill in the blank, first responder. That's an exciting one. I'm so, so excited to push in and support our first responders. Our HR representatives, we know we're amazing at fill in the blank, and yet we're not our amazing self every single day because things get in the way and it's under the skills, right? Like, I know the numbers of being an accountant, but it's something deeper than that that's keeping me from being the accountant that I could be or the social media expert. So, yeah, so we pulled together this program. It's exciting because it's rooted in neuroscience, which is my like research world, my other love and passion. And it's super practical and interactive. And what I've loved about it is getting to know people on a deep level and watch them become who they want to be. It's an extension of the work that I've done as a therapist, right? It's just with a different hat. It's been so exciting.
Yeah, and it's been wonderful to be on the receiving end of that as well. And it was the same pretty much the same process for me, is that I was recognizing with me and my team, and we had been kind of working through some obstacles and things with
Right.
clients that we were really, I was looking around and we were carrying the weight of that. And for so long, many years, we were helping and filling in and
Yeah.
having pretty healthy boundaries with that. And I'm not saying that it was anything on our end at all, but there it was really heavy. And I think a lot of
Okay.
business owners were going through a lot of heavy things. And
Hmm.
we were sharing those experiences with them and carrying the weight of that and not able to really push forward and be the best that we could be. And I told you I was watching Ted Lasso. My
Yeah.
husband and I
Oh,
just
Ted
decided,
Lasso. I
yeah,
love
we
Ted
decided to
Lasso.
rewatch it just cuz. And I just, that season where they bring in the sports psychologist and she comes and sits down with all the soccer players and helps them through these, whatever it was different for each individual, but she was helping them to perform on the field. And I thought, I feel like I need that for us, but just in business. Like, we're not playing soccer, we're not playing sports, but and so I kind of looked at our clients and I did an assessment. I was like, I really, I think Robyn maybe she's the one, not knowing at all that you had the
Right.
regulation, you know.
Right.
So
So amazing.
that's when I called you and I said, so I think this is what we need. And you said, absolutely, we have it and it's wonderful. So I share that just to say that there are
Mhm.
so many different things that we think about that come across our desk or ideas that pop in our heads as business owners. And yet we have a core competency, right? And we could take our
Yeah.
business in every other direction. We could stay where we're at and just, do the one thing. What strategies do you use to stay ahead and innovate while also managing your scaling and
Mm,
your growing business? Because these are really
yeah.
exciting. You talked about it. You
Oh
had
my gosh.
systems, you did, the Regulation Foundation. You, by the way, are a therapy practice. So,
Right. Right. We
you
do
know,
therapy as the most important thing.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So how do you manage
Right.
that? What do you do to kind of think about all these different things that come through and all these different ideas and every which way that you could possibly go?
Okay. So the most important thing is surrounding myself with excellence. The team members, like it literally gives me goosebumps because the team members that we have on the Growing Healthy Seasons team are outstanding. Like these people care at a level that you only hope that you can find as a business owner. And that it's it's what makes it all work. I that you have to do it all by yourself will derail any vision, any journey. And the coming alongside and the beauty of that coming alongside and working together has just been honestly like one of the biggest surprises of my life. I always knew that I would be a therapist. I love that I get to be a mom, but journeying with other incredibly powerful helping professionals, watching them do their strengths, it makes it possible to expand and do these other things, right? So
Yes.
that is crucial.
Yes. That is, I have to say that again, believing the lie that we have to do this alone. It's not a thing. It is
It's
not a
not a
thing.
thing.
We
Mm-mm.
can come alongside and work together and lift each other up. And I think that that's where you and I really connect on
Yep.
business, values in business and everything like that. And so I think that's wonderful. Well, before we wrap it up,
Oh
this
my
is the
goodness.
one question that I ask everybody because, this is called What It Takes. So we've been talking about scaling. We've been talking about, all the different things, great nuggets. What do you think? What does it take to be a business owner and scale and talk about all those things that you've been through today? What do you summarize in couple sentences? What does it take?
Oh my goodness. What does it take to thrive as a business owner? I think it takes just doing the next right thing. And you can't know your right thing if you're not rooted in your values, right? But when you are rooted in your values, you can look at the unending, impossible to-do list and say, what is the next right thing here?
That's
And then you feel
amazing.
like, right? That because then you feel confident that yes, there are 500 things, 5 million things vying for this 1 hour chunk, but I'm going to do the next right thing. And I'm going to feel really good about that. And then we'll see what happens next.
I love it. So that's what it takes. As a
I
business
think
owner,
that's what
you
it
just got to
takes.
do the next right thing. I love
Because
it.
don't you know, Jamie, like, I mean, you have me. I know it's not just me, but at the end of the day, is your to-do list ever just done as a business owner? Like,
No,
it's not.
no.
It's just not. So we need, yeah. So we do the next right thing, and then we're comfortable with the fact that the to-do list continues
Absolutely.
day after
That's
day.
another piece to that. That's a really good point is that, hey, there's always something that's got to be done, and
Hmm.
just being okay that you're going to get to it tomorrow or the next
Right.
day. You know, you can prioritize it, and whatever the next right thing is, that's what you do.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Robyn.
So
Okay. If
fun.
anybody wants to get a hold of you, whether it's about the Regulation
Yeah.
Foundation program or a therapy or anything else, how do they get in contact?
Yeah. Growinghealthyseasons.com is the easiest way. Our website is beautiful and updated last year. And then you'll have all our contact information from there. There's all the socials too. They all go together, and our website will direct you to those too.
Yes, definitely. So check out the website, find on social media, Growing Healthy Seasons. Robyn, thank you so much for sharing
Thank
your inspiring
you.
journey and your insights. I always take away so many nuggets whenever we talk. Just
Oh.
key takeaways like maintaining quality during growth. That's amazing. And staying rooted in your
Mhm.
values and the importance of that, and advice for the other business owners. My goodness, so many good takeaways.
Oh,
So thank
so
you so
incredible.
much. Thank you so much for joining us. This podcast is brought to you by Seeker Solution. Are you a business owner feeling overwhelmed? We can help. Head over to seekersolution.com to schedule a call today. Would you or someone you know like to be featured on this podcast? Our applications are now open. Apply today at seekersolution.com and click on the podcast link to get started.